Hey everyone, we're going to talk about the Ranger today. Lots of people had a lot of questions about where the Ranger would end up and if the playtest version that we saw is pretty much what we were going to get. And I'll tell you right now, it is not. The Ranger actually had many changes from the playtest. It also had many changes to its subclasses from the playtest. Certainly some of the playtest stuff has gone through, but you're going to see a number of features today that you haven't seen anywhere before for the Ranger. And if you read the thumbnail, it's going to say that Hunter's Mark is now a major feature for the Ranger. And so in the playtest, the Ranger got Hunter's Mark for free. They could cast it without a spell slot, and that's scaled with their level. And they're still going to get that, but what you're going to see is a number of other features that go to make Hunter's Mark more and more and more effective. For me to give an opinion at any point before the end regarding Hunter's Mark would just be incomplete. So I will be talking about my opinions about where they landed with Hunter's Mark, but I'm going to save it to the end so I can do it in full context. So they have released their schedule for videos for the next 2 weeks, and it is up on your screen, and I just want to let you know what you're going to get from my channel. So on Monday, they're going to be talking about spells. Of course, I will have a reaction for this. I am expecting some big reveals about things like spellcasting mechanics that I am very eager to talk about and share some insights I've got. So there will 100% be a reaction to that. On Tuesday, they're going to do a crafting sneak peek. I'm not sure how much I'm going to have to say about that, so I will be recording a reaction. I'll probably release it unless I really don't have anything to say. But there will probably be a video on this channel on Tuesday, but not 100%. The rest of the week, they are taking off, so I will be working on other things for the rest of the week, so there will be no other videos on my channel next week after that. The following week, we are going to get the remainder of the classes that they haven't done reveals for. So it looks like we got the Monk on Monday, the Sorcerer on Tuesday, Cleric on Wednesday, Thursday will be the Bard. And yes, I will have reactions to all of those guaranteed. And then they're doing new dragon designs on the Friday, and I may or may not. And once again, I'm going to record a reaction. I'm no art expert, and I think they're just talking about art, so I may not have anything insightful to say, in which case I won't bother putting out a lousy reaction video. So I'll record one, and if there is something insightful I have to say, then I'll release it. If not, then I won't. I also want to let you know we are getting some reveals here, but we're not getting all the reveals and all the details. And I just want to assure you that if you are a subscriber of this channel, and if you're not, please subscribe. But if you are a subscriber of this channel, what you're going to get is the moment my NDA ends, which is well before the book is released, you will, day one, start getting videos with detailed information about what is inside this book. And so if you wish to make a buying decision, my goal is to make sure that if you do buy the Player's Handbook, you're going to open it up and there will be zero surprises. You're going to know what's in there before you buy it. That is my goal. So that is the content you're going to get as soon as my NDA is over, and it'll all be out, should be well before you need to make any financial decisions about buying this book. But back onto topic, the Ranger.
Today we are talking about a very big topic. We're talking about the Ranger, and we effectively have a brand new class with this Ranger.
Yeah, it is super exciting. The Ranger, more than any other class in the new Player's Handbook, is a new class. People got to see the evolution of the class through the Unearthed Arcana process, and now in the new Player's Handbook, you will get the brand new Ranger. And every facet of this class has been revisited, fine-tuned. The class has always been widely played, but in our satisfaction surveys over the years, the class has also been one of our lowest rated classes. And so the Ranger, along with the Monk, received major overhauls.
I was just thinking that when he was saying that the Ranger more than any other class is like a new class. I'm like, Monk? Maybe Monk too? But he's right. Lots of changes here, and if you saw the last playtest, You haven't seen the Ranger yet. You're going to find out about it right
In
now.
the new player's handbook, with again the Ranger receiving such a major overhaul that again it's a brand new class.
Yeah.
Shall we dive in?
Yes, please.
Right away at first level, if you've played a Ranger over the past 10 years in 5th edition, you're going to see just how new it is, because everything at first level is new. So first off, you get your spellcasting now right away at first level. This is something we did in the Paladin as well in the new player's handbook. Spellcasting is a fundamental part of each of these classes' identities, and we no longer wanted these two classes to wait to get such a vital resource, partly because we also want people who are new to playing these classes to immediately get accustomed to integrating in the spell use that is a part of the hybrid nature of the Ranger and the Paladin.
Right.
These are the quintessential hybrid characters in D&D, going all the way back to 1st edition, that fuse weapon use with magic use. So spellcasting, it's at first level now for Rangers. Piggybacking on that, we also now have a brand new version of the favored enemy feature. And this feature now gives you the Hunter's Mark spell prepared all the time, and also gives you free castings of it a certain number of times per day. This is great because it means those castings will no longer compete with your spell casting as a Ranger if you want to do other things with your spells. Hunter's Mark is the way that you mark an enemy as your favored foe. It's going to make it so that you deal more damage to them. And if you're in a pursuit situation in your adventure, it means you're going to have an easier time of tracking them. Now, we'll come back to this spell as we journey upward through the levels in this class, because we're going to see that the new Ranger then has that spell improved at later levels. But we're going to stay here at first level.
All right, so that's our first Hunter's Mark thing, is that you're going to have it prepped for free. You're going to be able to cast it without spell slots a certain number of times. And, of course, the spell casting coming in at level 1 is no surprise, I think, to anyone who followed the playtest.
For now,
Okay.
Because also at first level, Rangers get weapon mastery.
Yeah.
Having spell casting with sort of favored enemy as the piggybacking on spell casting, that's the magic side of the Ranger. Well, we also now have weapon mastery. And this means that Rangers, like all of our classes that are getting weapon mastery, will get to enjoy the brand new tactical options that the weapon mastery system provides. And because Rangers have a very broad weapon selection, that means I think we're going to see many different flavored Rangers just in terms of their weapon use. At level 2, Rangers get fighting style.
So, I mean, weapon mastery, again, shouldn't be a surprise if you were following the playtest, but if you weren't, weapon mastery is property that all weapons have a mastery property where they have an additional effect if you hit with them or miss with them, depending on the mastery. So Rangers will have full selections of weapon mastery as well. So, I mean, that's a pretty strong level 1, because they're getting spellcasting just like a full caster would at level 1. And then you're getting free castings of Hunter's Mark, which at level 1 is a decent spell, actually. And then the weapon mastery on top of that. So that's not bad for level 1.
Which was a feature that the 2014 Ranger had, and then also a new feature called Deft Explorer. And there was a version of Deft Explorer as an option in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. The version that's now here in the new player's handbook gives you expertise in a skill of your choice that you have proficiency in, and also lets you pick 2 more languages that you know. This feature is all about the skillfulness that Rangers traditionally have, particularly because of how much they roam. I mean, it's in the name. It's often easy to forget that what Ranger is referring to is it is a person who ranges far and wide. And so seeing the world, particularly the natural world, but also the people who live in that world, is a really fundamental part of the ranger's identity. The other feature I mentioned at this level, fighting style, has been upgraded since its 2014 version because rangers are no longer limited to a sort of subsection of the fighting style options in the game. They, like paladins and fighters, can choose from the whole list of fighting style options that are now in the feat chapter of this book, and the number of options there is greater than the number of options in the 2014 Player's Handbook. Now, we also provided yet an additional choice in this fighting style feature. If you as a ranger player would rather your ranger lean more on the magic side of your class identity, you have the option of foregoing one of the fighting style feats, instead taking this option called Druidic Warrior, which is then going to give you some druid cantrips to add to your kit. And we
Okay, so that's level 2. So Deft Explorer was an optional class feature in Tasha's that replaced Natural Explorer, and it's replacing Natural Explorer again. Now, in Tasha's, if you took Deft Explorer, you got the stuff he mentioned when you took it, and then as you leveled up, you got additional things. So those are not just in formatting, they're listed as separate class features as you move up. And then the fighting style, he talked about Druidic Warrior, and that was also in Tasha's, and it was presented as a fighting style, even though it wasn't really. It was really just cantrips for your ranger. So the ranger can still choose that, or a different fighting style. And of course, as he mentions, in 2014, the ranger had a limited list of fighting styles they could choose from. Now they can choose any fighting style feat.
Wanted to make it easier for ranger players, as we've done in several of the other classes in the new Player's Handbook, to nudge the class in the direction they want to go with it when it comes to, especially in hybrid classes, how much do I want to lean in the weapon side of my identity, and how much do I want to lean on the spellcasting side. At third level, like all the other classes, you get your subclass. We'll come back to those after we've traveled through the whole class. The ranger still has extra attack. At level 6, the ranger gets a feature now called roving, because again, they travel far and wide. And because of this feature, rangers will now have a boost to their speed, a 10-foot boost to be precise, while they aren't wearing heavy armor. And on top of that, all rangers now at this level also gain a climb speed and a swim speed.
Okay, so roving was part of the scaling of Deft Explorer on in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and what it did is it increased your speed by 5 feet and gave you a swim speed and a climb speed. So Jeremy has identified 2 changes. The first is now there's a restriction that you don't get it if you're wearing heavy armor. And the second is instead of a 5-foot increase to speed, you're getting a 10-foot increase to speed. So rangers are getting pretty quick by level 5 or level 6, I should say.
Because rangers are meant to be the people who are best equipped to explore pretty much any kind of environment. And we support that fantasy both with the class features that are present, but also through the spells. There'll be many familiar spells from the 2014 spell list, but people will also see there are some additions to that list, so it's a bit more robust. And now, whenever a ranger finishes a long rest, they can change one of the spells that they have prepared.
I'm glad he mentioned that. So when he was talking about spellcasting, I was waiting to hear if he would say that. So in 2014, rangers had spells known. They didn't have prepared spells. That meant you made your selection and you were stuck with it, and each time you gained a level, you could change one selection. So what he's telling you now is that, just like with a paladin, after a long rest, you can make changes.
This is a big change for rangers, because it used to be that they had their list of spells and they could only change one of them whenever they would level up. But now it's every day when they finish a long rest,
Nice.
they can change one. So that's back at first level in the spellcasting feature, but I bring it up now talking about
Yeah, and it's only one spell, as he just said. One spell after long rest.
just the Ranger's exploration side, because we made this change in spellcasting to better support the utility side of the Ranger's spell use. Because the Ranger's spell list has more utility than it does have outright damage. And so because of that utility focus, we wanted Rangers to be able to at least, change one spell a day, depending on the situation that's ahead of them, at least that they're guessing is ahead of them in the coming adventuring day. As before, the subclass features keep coming, ability score improvement keeps coming. Up at 19th level, like all the classes in the new player's handbook, there's Epic Boon. But they also now get 2 more expertise options. So the Ranger is going to be even more skilled.
Yeah.
Even more.
Now, he was talking about Epic Boon at level 19, and then he's talking about Expertise. Expertise isn't at 19. Okay, so he's kind of jumping around here. So we'll see what else he says
Of
about
an
that.
expert than they were in 2014. And at 10th level, they get a feature called Tireless. And with this feature, the Ranger, a certain number of times per day, can give themselves temporary hit points, representing a resilience that they are drawing into themselves from nature itself. And they also have an always-on ability that whenever they finish a short rest, if they have any exhaustion levels, the number of exhaustion levels they have reduces by 1. Most people have to take a long rest to have.
All right, so this feature was, again, part of the scaling of Deft Explorer. And here at level 10, minor tweaks, but it's pretty much what we're used to.
Their exhaustion go down by 1, but Rangers, who again are meant to be the ones who are best equipped to roam across vast distances, their exhaustion goes away faster than most other characters. At level 13, here's where their Hunter's Mark spell starts to improve. So they already always have that spell prepared, and they get a number of free castings of it per day. Starting at level 13, damage can no longer break their concentration on the spell. Still have to concentrate on it. This is important so that
I'm interested to see why he says it's important, because if you were following the playtest, the very first version of the Ranger we saw in the playtest had a concentration-free Hunter's Mark, and then they went away from that. And I know a lot of people were hoping that maybe they might have Hunter's Mark be concentration-free at some point, but instead what they're saying is that your concentration can't be broken by damage. So if you are concentrating, and that's just on Hunter's Mark. So if you are concentrating on Hunter's Mark and take a bunch of damage, you don't have to make a saving throw to maintain your concentration. Of course, if you fall unconscious or something, you're still going to lose it. But this is brand new, wasn't in the playtest, and it is not the end of Hunter's Mark scaling.
spell can't stack with other things that also require concentration. Then at level 14, you get Nature's Veil, where as a bonus action, you can, again, drawing on the primal magic that you draw on as a ranger, just poof, become invisible. It's sort of a supernatural camouflage. The 2014 ranger had the ability at higher level to easily camouflage themselves, but it required them to loop through hiding, through specifically the hide action. Now, it's far more supernatural where just they're gone.
Yeah.
The old version in 2014 was hide in plain sight, and it was not easily done, and it didn't allow them to move. They had to remain completely still. I'm throwing in a cut here because we have more information than Jeremy gave us. This is posted on D&D Beyond, and I will link it in the video description for people who want to see it. Sometimes these articles give a little bit more information than they gave in the video, and this is one of those cases. So if we go to Nature's Veil, you're going to see use a bonus action. Here, let me highlight it. To become invisible until the end of your next turn. In Tasha's, it was you used a bonus action to become invisible until the start of your next turn. So this means that at the start of your turn, you use your bonus action, you become invisible. It's not broken like the invisibility spell if you attack. So you attack with advantage on your turn. Then on your off turn, you're invisible, so attacks against you have disadvantage. And then your next turn, you will have advantage again. So a significant boost to this feature.
Yeah.
And they are invisible. So it's going to be easier to use and be more effective as the ranger creeps around, perhaps stalking one of their foes. We also have at level 17 another upgrade to Hunter's Mark, where now the ranger always has advantage on attack rolls against whoever is currently marked by their Hunter's Mark.
Nice.
Level 8.
And so that's completely new. Again, it wasn't in the playtest. So level 17, if you have your Hunter's Mark on a target, all attacks against that target will have advantage that you make.
18, they get blind sight out to 30 feet as they become almost like a creature of the wilds, being able to, even if they're blinded, see or effectively see around them.
And that's a significant enhancement. In 2014, they could sense invisible creatures, but they could not see them. So now you are going to have blind sight with a range of 30 feet, which is pretty good.
And then at 20th level, the damage of their Hunter's Mark increases. So it is now a D10 rather than a D6.
So that's now the capstone for the Ranger. A Hunter's Mark normally adds a D6 to the damage of your attacks. The new capstone of the Ranger is Hunter's Mark now adds D10 to your attacks. I am not going to talk about Hunter's Mark yet because we're going to continue to hear about it through the subclasses.
All of this together, when you combine the new features, the enhanced spell list, the ability to use more of your spells as a ranger, means you will be the paramount explorer and sort of survivalist in the wilds, supporting your party with your various abilities, but also being a badass on your own.
Perfect.
All right, so just to compile what we have just learned, the Ranger has gotten a number of enhancements over 2014. So you're going to be able to change spells after a long rest. You are going to get spells at level 1. They round up when you multiclass, so it's better with multiclassing. You're going to get a free preparation of Hunter's Mark and free castings of Hunter's Mark. You will eventually get protected concentration for your Hunter's Mark, enhanced damage for your Hunter's Mark, permanent advantage on attacks with your Hunter's Mark, and we're going to get weapon mastery, which is actually a fairly big deal. It's kind of easy to overlook because other classes are getting it too, but it's a big deal. And they get it at level 1. They're going to be faster than they've ever been before. They're going to have expertise and more skills than they ever did before. If you want to be the absolute iconic ranger, I would recommend Perception, Stealth, and Survival. And then a big enhancement where you're going to get Blind Sight. And there is another enhancement that he glossed over, but there is another fairly significant one as well. So now we're going to talk about subclasses.
It's amazing. Those are huge changes.
Again, it's a new class.
Yeah.
It is top to bottom rebuilt, and so much of that done in conversation with the community through Unearthed Arcana.
And heavily focus on that fantasy that you have. As if you are wanting to play a ranger, you're dealing that damage, you're wandering, you're the best at so many things that you should be the best at, and you also can have expertise in the things that you should.
And many of these benefits also are very concrete. One of our misses in the 2014 Ranger is we had some really nice, flavorful abilities having to do with different environments or different types of creatures that didn't really deliver a reliable, concrete game experience. And everything that we've done here has been about delivering the fantasy of the Ranger and doing it in a very direct, fun way so that you get your feature and you get to be rangery.
Yeah.
Then we took that philosophy and carried it into the subclasses. We have the Hunter and the Beastmaster both returning from the 2014 Player's Handbook, but both of them redesigned.
Yeah.
And then they are joined by the Gloom Stalker and the Fey Wanderer. How about we talk about the Beastmaster first?
Yeah, let's talk about the Beastmaster, because not only has this class been rebuilt, this is effectively a new subclass as well.
Yeah, so the Beastmaster subclass, it shares the name with the 2014 version and the theme of the ranger who has this supernatural bond with a beast, but otherwise beyond the name and the theme,
It's completely new.
it is a brand new subclass. And people got to see an earlier version of this new subclass in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, specifically in the new creature options, because in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, we introduced this idea of these sort of primal beasts that the ranger can bond with, the beast of the land, the beast of the sky, and the beast of the sea. But now you get to see that piece that originally appeared in Tasha's now integrated in with the whole subclass and the whole subclass redone around that. And so now you have a subclass where you and your primal beast are this united unit.
Yeah.
You have this mystical connection with each other. You're now, as a ranger, going to be able to command your beast as a bonus action instead of an action, which means that you will feel much more than you did in the 2014 version, like you and your beast companion are working in tandem with each other. We've made it so that also this beast that you choose, because rather than it being a stat block you go fish out of the monster manual, is one of these 3 stat blocks specifically designed for this subclass. We could make each of these stat blocks sort of level up with you, and each one have its own shtick, whether it's, again, land-related, sky-related, or sea-related.
And as you said, these level up. They gain power over time.
Yes, because they are a fundamental part of your power as a Beastmaster Ranger. And so we wanted to ensure from the inside, by designing these creatures specifically for this subclass, ensure that they are delivering the effectiveness they need to be delivering for you over the course of your career as a Beastmaster. All of it together means I think this is going to be a thrilling subclass, not only for people who have already played a Beastmaster, but also people who've not yet tried it out and had the fun of almost having 2 characters, because the Beastmaster is one of the few subclasses in the game where it's really about not only playing your ranger, it's also about playing your ranger's beast friend. And that friend can almost take on a role of being like a member of the party. The beast companion just keeps getting better with you. What you can do with it in terms of your commands improves, and it culminates with you even being able to share spells with your companion, so that when you cast a spell targeting yourself, you can also have your beast companion benefit as well. And all of the improvements inside the subclass mean that you just over time become more and more of this amazing sort of 2 beings in total sync with each other, working as an exploration and fighting unit.
Oh, that's fascinating. So if I cast a healing spell, that spell may also affect my beast companion at the same time.
As long as it's within 30 feet of you, you could cast Cure Wounds on yourself, and your beast 30 feet away is then also healed.
Oh, that's amazing.
And also, just again, driving home how you are this unified unit, you also get to the point where your hunter's mark starts benefiting your beast.
Oh, that's strong.
Yes.
when the beast is enjoying Hunter's Mark, that becomes dangerous. So this brings us to Fey.
Okay, so that was a lot of talking without getting into specifics. I'm glad he finally mentioned. We saw in the playtest that the Beastmaster presented is very similar to the one in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So there was a revised Beastmaster in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and most of what we saw in the playtest was from there. The one notable difference was at level 11, Hunter's Mark. If you had it on a target, your beast, I believe once per turn, could benefit from the extra damage from Hunter's Mark. That was play tested in a group I played with, and the Beastmaster can do very significant damage once they reach level 11 using just Hunter's Mark.
Fey Wanderer Ranger. This came out of Tasha's. This was a really, really super fun one because eventually in your roaming, you might have gotten some background radiation from the Feywild, or been under its influence, or maybe that's where you in fact come from.
Yeah, the Fey Wanderer is, along with the Gloom Stalker, these two have wandered into the player's handbook to bring the sort of mirror world feeling of the Shadowfell and the Feywild, because those are the planes of existence that we've associated these two subclasses with. And so if you think of the Beastmaster and the Hunter being associated...
He actually just said something that explains something to me that I was wondering, and I mentioned this when we saw the Gloom Stalker in the playtest, is that I didn't really understand what they were going for, because there were these fear effects, and I'd always understood the Gloom Stalker as like an Underdark hunter. So you take the hunter, you put him in the Underdark, that's your Gloom Stalker. But he's saying there's kind of a Shadowfell magic supernatural thing going on, and that just clicked. I get it now.
Associated with the material plane, the Fey Wanderer is associated with the Feywild, and the Gloom Stalker with the Shadowfell. And so those two subclasses, the Fey Ranger and the shadowy one, they are, in many ways, the more magical rangers of the four provided in this book.
Perfect.
Then the Hunter being the least magical of the four. Now, the Fey Wanderer, it's going to be a fun friend to revisit for anyone who played the Fey Wanderer from Tasha's Cauldron. And what you're going to see here is the features that you loved in the class, but now integrated into the new Ranger, benefiting from the new spells that are here. And in a way, the Fey Wanderer wandered into this book along with some of the spells in Tasha's Cauldron, including Summon Fey, which was something it had in Tasha's Cauldron, and thankfully, because Summon Fey is now in the player's handbook, the Fey Wanderer in the player's handbook can continue to enjoy the ability at higher level of summoning a Fey creature to fight beside the Fey Wanderer. Before you get there, you not only have extra spells that you have always prepared, you can also deal extra psychic damage with some of your strikes as you channel the magic of the Feywild. You also can beguile people with your otherworldly glamour, and ultimately, because we can never resist when it's a Fey-themed subclass, we end up giving you Misty Step so that you can teleport. And we also, along the way, we help guard your mind against being charmed or frightened. So the whole package means if you choose this subclass, will be drenched through and through with Fey magic and be a wonderful companion to, and here I'll do it, I'll refer to the Warlock, a wonderful companion to a Warlock who has the Archfey patron.
Yeah.
And the two of you can teleport around to your heart's content.
Perfection.
Yes. It'll be Fey chef's kiss.
Yeah.
The sparkly trickster feeling of the Fey Wanderer is in stark contrast to the Gloom Stalker.
Okay, so he's done talking about the Fey Wanderer. I thought he was going to mention something else, and basically, if you are familiar with the Fey Wanderer in Tasha's, what you're going to get is very similar. There is a very notable enhancement to one of their features. So I would say that the Fey Wanderer has been buffed in the new player's handbook.
Who instead is not only channeling the magic of the Shadowfell, but also just the shadows of the deep places of the earth, because you can also think of this being a ranger associated with the Underdark. And this subclass originally appeared in Xanathar's Guide to Everything.
Yeah, and I've always loved this. Just the core concept of if you rely on your dark vision, you're invisible to them.
Yes.
Terrifying. You're the thing that the knight is afraid of. It's such a wonderful theme for a subclass. It's just chilling.
Well, and we've made it so that as you are hunting those creatures of the darkness, you're going to be even better at it.
Yeah.
One of the things we did right away in the subclass in your level 3 Dread Ambusher feature is we made it so that your extra damage is no longer locked to the first round of combat.
Yeah.
We wanted you to be able to enjoy being a Gloom Stalker throughout a battle, if you so choose, and not essentially, well, I was a Gloom Stalker on round 1, and then for the rest of the time I was a generic ranger. But now we've made it so that you will be able to use your Dreadful Strike, also psychic damage, because I introduced the Gloom Stalker as, in a way, the foil to the Fey Wanderer.
Yeah.
And just as the Feywild and the Shadowfell are almost sort of opposites of each other, but they often both have to do with the mind and the emotions.
Yeah.
It's interesting that both of these subclasses, their extra damage is psychic damage.
And the Gloom Stalker does a significant amount of psychic damage every turn.
But a limited number of times per day.
Yes.
It's not endless.
But it's bursty. It's a good amount of damage. It's healthy.
They like their Fey sibling. Also have a list of spells that they always...
So we're done with Dread Ambusher. So in Xanathar's, the Gloom Stalker had a very big first round of combat. They had a bonus to their speed. They got an extra attack on the first round of combat. That extra attack did an extra D8 damage if it hit. And they had an initiative bonus equal to their wisdom modifier. And what has changed is the extra attack is gone. So no more extra attack in the first round of combat. Instead, what you're going to get is extra damage dice that you can add to any attack you want at any point in the combat, but a limited number of times per day. Which, I mean, let's be honest, that's less powerful, right? The power level has gone down. And with Gloom Stalker, I think it needed to happen. I think it's one of those things that probably was too powerful.
Always have prepared. They have their umbral sight, which gives them dark vision or improves their dark vision if they already have it. As you mentioned, other creatures that rely on dark vision to see in the dark can't see the Gloom Stalker in the dark.
And this is carried over from Xanathar's, and it's probably the most powerful feature that a Gloom Stalker gets. And when people choose the Gloom Stalker, this is a big selling feature. It is carried through. In fact, there is a little bit of an enhancement even, but the main thing, a minor enhancement, I would say.
Yeah.
Again, terrifying.
They're great at initiative.
Yes, they are. They are like their friends. The assassin and the barbarian are going to be more likely to go earlier in the battle than others.
The whole concept of this is the ambusher, this is the hunter and the knight, this is in the spell list reflects all that as well. I mean, it's unusual to see, like the ranger with disguised self, for example. You are very much one with the shadows and illusion.
They also, like their sibling, the Fey Wanderer, they end up having various mental defenses, and then also they're going to start being even more terrifying at level 11 with their Stalker's Flurry, because their psychic damage goes up. And so
And if you were following the playtest, this is new from the playtest. In the playtest, you had the psychic damage you could deliver a certain number of times, and there was no scaling on it. So now there is some scaling on it.
Even more.
Yeah, so that bursty damage bursts even more. And also they can start exuding mass fear to
All around them.
Yeah, all around them. And they also can teleport once you get up to level 15, teleport out of harm's way when they are attacked. So all of this.
All right, so that's all the features of the... so level 11, big change from Xanathar's, right? In Xanathar's, when the Gloom Stalker misses with an attack, they can... They would get an additional attack. So they could just try again. But now that is gone, and instead you get these fear effects. And his explanation of the Shadowfell kind of make more sense to me. And then the 15th level feature with the teleport, we saw it in the playtest.
This combined means they are really terrifying, resilient hunters in the night.
And there's so many different ways to flavor this one in particular too, because this could be the Van Helsing who is hunting vampires, or this can be a ranger who solely lives in cities or in the Underdark. There's just so many ways to theme it. Yeah. I love this ranger.
It is, in many ways, the Gloom Stalker is the sort of gothic ranger.
Yeah. Perfect. I like gothy things.
You?
No. Okay, now that brings us to the Hunter Ranger. This is the low magic ranger.
This is, in many ways, sort of the subclass that is the baseline.
Yeah.
And what we've done is we took the version of the Hunter that was in 2014, took the best elements of it, and sort of remixed the whole subclass. So it too, like the Beastmaster, is really close to just being a brand new subclass.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Part of that is you get a brand new feature at level 3 called Hunter's Lore. And this allows you that while a creature is marked by your Hunter's Mark, to know whether that creature has any immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities. And if that creature does, you know what they are.
Oh, perfect.
So this is the last feature we're going to hear about Hunter's Mark. In addition to the multiple enhancements through Base Ranger, we also heard about Hunter's Mark with Beastmaster, and we heard about Hunter's Mark with the Hunter.
So you now are really good at hunting because you know, we shouldn't use fire on this particular creature, or we should use radiance on this creature. So this right away was a fun feature for us to create to help the hunter just be a better hunter. Then you get to the Hunter's Prey feature, and here you have a choice, just as the hunter used to have a choice in this feature. But the choices, we basically whittled, in each of the choice points in the subclass, we whittled the choices down to the best ones. In the 2014 version, at each of the choice points, there was always basically a suboptimal choice. And so what we've done is we've narrowed it to the best choices so that whatever you choose, it's a solid choice. And then we went one step beyond that. We've now made it so that you can change your choice whenever you finish a short or long rest.
And that is new from the playtest. Normally, when you choose a hunter, you have these options. And so level 3, you take your Colossus Slayer, and then level 6, I forget which ones they had, or level 7. And whatever you have, that's what you got. But now, if you want to do the other choices, you can do them. You just have to finish a rest, and then you can switch out your choices. So that's a brand new flexibility this class didn't, or subclass didn't used to have.
This makes these features far more tactically useful, because then you can sort of steer your effectiveness toward what you think you face in the day or the hours ahead. We do this shtick again at level 7 in defensive tactics. You have a choice, and then you can revisit your choice whenever you finish a short or long rest. And you'll see familiar friends here in the features, and Escape the Horde, and Multi-Attack Defense. At level 11, the Hunter now also lets you, when you have Hunter's Mark on a creature, and you deal damage to them, you can also deal that spell's extra damage to a different creature within...
Yeah, I forgot. There's yet another... So the Hunter actually gets 2 enhancements to Hunter's Mark. As I was going through my notes, I'm like, whoops, I missed that one.
30 feet of the first creature.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's essentially your Hunter's Mark starts splashing damage on other people. We did this because the Hunter has always had this... When you looked at the choices that the subclass offered, it has always had this element of, I'm going to deal more damage to this single target, or I'm going to be really effective at fighting an entire group.
Yeah.
We continue to have those themes inside the subclass.
Yeah, Horde Breaker is fantastic. I just love that.
But now with Superior Hunter's Prey, this new feature speaks to both themes, because you can now deal a lot of damage to one target and throw some damage on somebody else.
Perfect.
And then at level 15, you can take a reaction to give yourself resistance to damage when you take damage, and then that resistance lasts until the end of your current turn.
So this is a brand new feature, and you've never seen it before. The closest, I think, feature to it would be Uncanny Dodge for rogues, but this is better than Uncanny Dodge because, like he said, you maintain the resistance until the end of your current turn. So if you're fighting a creature, let's say it has multi-attack, which at higher levels, most of them do, and it hits you with a first attack, well, if you're a rogue, you use your reaction and you have the damage. If you are a Hunter Ranger, you use your action, you have the damage, and you're also going to have the damage of all the rest of their attacks on that turn, assuming it's all the same damage type. So, pretty good feature at level 15.
So this is just a chance for you to sort of grit your teeth through the damage that you're taking to enhance your survivability.
Yeah.
Because we want the Hunter to, whether the Hunter is leaning more in a ranged attack direction or in a melee direction, to have really high resilience as they embark on their hunts.
This is a good ranger for the zombie apocalypse.
Well,
you're just mowing through hordes.
The nice thing about the Hunter Ranger, especially in the new player's handbook, is it's the ranger who's good in any situation.
Yeah.
Precisely because you can change your kit.
Yeah.
And so this is the, to use an old TV reference, this is sort of the MacGyver ranger.
Yeah.
Who, it's like, they've got the tool for the job. Just give them a minute or an hour in the case of the short rest.
Thank you for these massive changes to the Ranger. People are really going to appreciate all the newness in here and like that wish fulfillment that people have wanted with the Ranger.
I can't wait for people to play it.
The new player's handbook.
Okay, so first let's talk about Hunter's Mark. So if we look at everything that Hunter's Mark that happens with Hunter's Mark for the Ranger, you're going to be getting it for free, casting it without a spell slot. You will eventually get your concentration protected so that if you take damage, you don't make saving throws. You will eventually get permanent advantage on attacks against creatures that have the Hunter's Mark, but not until very high level. That's a high level feature. And then we're going to get an increase to the damage die as our capstone. That's terrible, the capstone. It's very, very disappointing capstone, I have to say. Otherwise, I mean, the scaling is not bad. Protected concentration is significant. And I mean, once you get permanent advantage, I might actually want to concentrate on Hunter's Mark sometimes. But I think the way it will end up working, for me at least, is if I'm playing a Ranger, I'm going to have other spells I want to concentrate on when I get to higher levels. At level 1, what are you going to be concentrating on? Go ahead. But when you get to higher levels, there are other spells you might want to be concentrating on. And so what I would probably do is I would use Hunter's Mark at any time I'm not concentrating. If I'm not concentrating on something else, might as well throw up a Hunter's Mark and, just maintain it until I need to concentrate on something else. So I kind of envision that the Ranger is going to be concentrating on something all the time. And I don't predict that high-level Rangers will necessarily want to use their Hunter's Mark at all times. But I still think they will probably use it, especially if they are a Beastmaster or a Hunter, because the increases that the Beastmaster and Hunter get for Hunter's Mark are fairly significant. With a Fey Wanderer and Gloom Stalker, there's less incentive. But the Ranger itself, massively boosted from 2014, versus Tasha's more modestly boosted, but still boosted. So this is a more powerful Ranger for sure. In terms of the subclasses, definitely Beastmaster got boosted, both from 2014 by a long shot, as well as from Tasha's because of that Hunter's Mark increase. Then Fey Wanderer got boosted. He didn't go over the details, but it did, trust me. Gloom Stalker, I would say, got nerfed, right, as a whole. Not terribly, because they still have that huge advantage. I still think the Gloom Stalker is really, really powerful. I'm not sure if it's the most powerful subclass for the Ranger or not, but I still think it's in the running because that permanent invisibility and darkness against creatures with dark vision is exceedingly good. So it's still a very powerful subclass, but I don't think it's as powerful as Xanathar's. And the Hunter got huge boosts. And against the playtest as well. So that is the Ranger, significantly more powerful than it used to be. There's no question. Both the base class and the subclasses. Thanks so much for watching.